Welcome to the last video of our Black History Month series, and to the channel where we talk about all things nerdy. If you've been here before, you're probably familiar with our alternate versions lists. We've got a lot, and this time around we're switching it up a little bit by focusing on one particular alternate version of Green Lantern, John Stewart, and all the facts about him. John is a fan favorite Green Lantern, and one of the more memorable ones next to Hal Jordan, with the two having a very complex relationship of their own together, which we'll be touching on a little bit in this video. So with all that in mind, let's jump into our list of the top 10 alternate versions of Green Lantern, John Stewart Shocking Facts Edition. In at number 10, founding member. John is a founding member of the Justice League, as is revealed in the animated series of the same name, and it also comes up in Justice League Unlimited as well. In addition to this, the DCAU actually altered their timeline to make John the very first Green Lantern, skipping over Guy Gardner and Hal Jordan. This choice was made primarily because of the hero's increasing popularity, and because DC wanted to have more diversity in their cast of characters in the show. In at number 9, he's an architect. Initially when the character was introduced, Stewart was an architect. This was later retconned, with his new origin being that he was a veteran US Marine from Detroit. His abilities in engineering and architecture weren't entirely removed though. After the Marines, he became an architect, and his expertise in creating accurate energy constructs down to the bolt is due to his knowledge in the subjects. He also had a hand in building the new Hall of Justice in the JLA Watchtower, and aiding in rebuilding Coast City. Plus he's even earned the name Master Builder amongst his Green Lantern peers. In our number 8 spot, he doesn't wear a mask. This one should be fairly obvious, but John Stewart is one of the only Green Lanterns who doesn't wear a mask. This was a choice on Stewart's part, with him declaring that he had nothing to hide, something that he states when he first became a Green Lantern, knocking the mask out of Hal Jordan's hands. This was all while saying a few statements that some have read as problematically skimming the line of introducing him as a stereotypical black character. When he's given his Green Lantern uniform, Stewart says, I quote, "These aren't any threads James Brown would wear, but they beat my usual Salvation Army special, and I won't wear any mask. This black man lets it all hang out." So make what you will of that. Up next, number 7, backup. John Stewart is the backup Green Lantern to Hal Jordan. After the previous backup Guy Gardner was hit by a car and injured while trying to save a civilian, the Guardians sought to replace him, and chose John. This didn't fly too well with Hal Jordan. He felt that John had too much of an aggressive attitude towards authority figures, and spoke out. In response, the Guardians told him that he was being bigoted, and stood by their decision. In at number 6, publication history. Speaking of, let's talk a little bit about how John became the backup for Hal. Debuting in Green Lantern Volume 2, Issue 87 in 1971, John's creation came to be when artist Neil Adams came up with the idea of having a substitute Green Lantern, in case anything ever happened to Hal Jordan. When discussing it with editor Julius Schwartz, the two decided that this lantern should be black, with Adams later revealing that the choice was due to wanting to properly represent the racial makeup of the world's population. I quote, "We ought to have a black Green Lantern. Not because we're liberals, but because it just makes sense." In at number 5, DC's first black superhero. Because of Adams and Schwartz, John Stewart became the first black superhero in the DC universe in 1971. Yeah, let that sink in. Prior to that, Marvel had already introduced Black Panther and Black Goliath. Up until then, DC had introduced black characters, but not as superheroes, and only had a handful of non-stereotyped characters like Jackie Johnson, a World War II soldier who was a member of the Easy Company, first appearing in Our Army at War issue 113 back in 1961 as a supporting character. John wasn't the first black superhero to headline his own title at DC though. Instead, Black Lightning would appear later that decade in 1977 with his own self-titled series. John would get his time to shine though. In 1992, he was featured in Green Lantern Mosaic, which had an 18-issue run and was a hit. In at number 4, Sinestro murdered him. In the Injustice Gods Among Us Year 2 comics, in issue number 23, Sinestro murders John. But it's a bit more complicated than just evil defeating good. During the Year 2 story arc, the Green Lanterns are summoned by the Guardians to collect Superman, who at that point had taken over the world and has enforced his own brand of peace with his regime. Sinestro and the Yellow Lanterns are part of that regime, and when the Green Lanterns are taken prisoner, John joins the regime, but eventually he tries to put an end to the war. This causes Sinestro to kill him, and Guy Gardner is blamed. In our number 3 spot, his first mission. Let's jump back a little bit to the conflict between Hal and John. John's first mission was to protect a racist politician from a potential assassination. The two were to work together, and when the politician was shot at, Stewart was nowhere to be found. He wasn't there to respond to the attack like Hal did, which led Hal to suspect that perhaps his intentions were based on a personal bias. But turns out that the reason Stewart wasn't there was because he had his hands full stopping a gunman who almost killed a police officer at the same event. Turns out that the politician had staged the attack as means of gaining a political tactical advantage, a fact that Stewart had managed to discover, and that he had in fact saved the day while Hal was hunting down a decoy. This gained Hal's respect, and he felt that Stewart had proved his worth after all. In at number 2, the Honor Guard. Turns out Stewart never stopped proving his worth. His distinguished service in the Corps led him to being awarded a position on the Honor Guard, which is an elite group of Green Lanterns that are not restricted to protecting just one sector. He's not the only familiar Green Lantern who's a part of that group either. Guy Gardner, Kyle Rayner, and even Hal Jordan have been members of this group, with Gardner being one of the group's more prominent members for his ability as a troubleshooter. In addition to that, Stewart has also been given the position of Chief Trainer to the new Lanterns recruited into the Corps. And finally, in at number 1, he kills. Unlike many other heroes in the Green Lantern Corps, or heroes in the DC Universe in general, John Stewart kills, sort of. More so only when necessary. He's capable of killing when the situation calls for it. For example, he destroys Mogo the Living Planet in order to save the universe, and prevent Mogo from creating an army of Krona-controlled Green Lanterns. He also killed a fellow Lantern when that Lantern was about to give in to torture and reveal a bunch of important secrets to their enemies. Regardless, it's safe to say that Stewart acts out of the greater good, and will go to all costs in order to defend it. Alright, there we have it, friends. Is John Stewart your favorite Green Lantern? If not, who is? Let us know in those comments below. We've only scratched the surface when it comes to John, so if you dug this list and want a part 2, let us know in those comments. As always, please show us some love and hit those like and subscribe buttons. And hey, if you want more great nerdy vids, why not check out the playlist that's flashing on your screen right now. In the meantime, thanks for watching. I've been Kelly Pally, and this has been Top 10 Nerd. Catch you all in the next one.